If for some reason you happen to be visiting Scots Wikipedia in late 2020, you would be greeted by this bilingual message. Following recent revelations, Scots Wikipedia is currently reviewing its articles for large-scale language inaccuracies. Tens of thousands of articles, one of the single biggest collections of knowledge in the entire Scots language, wasn't even really in Scots at all. How did we get here, and how could something like this even happen? Hold up for a second. First we need to make sure everything's clear about a few things. What even is Scots? Descended from Old English, Scots has significantly more Norse influence amongst other differences from Standard English. Don't mix it up with Standard Scottish English, which is just normal English as it is spoken in Scotland, or Scottish Gaelic, which is in the Celtic family, related to languages like Irish, Welsh, and Breton. Within Scotland, there is a dialect continuum ranging from Standard Scottish English right through to Broad Scots on the other end. This means that in their day-to-day life, most speakers speak a variety somewhere along the line between the two extremes. So, what is the state of Scots now? Well, continuums like this one make it hard to draw a line between someone who is speaking in Scots and someone who is speaking just Scottish English. At the most recent census in 2011, about 30% of the population of Scotland over 3 years old reported being able to speak Scots, while only about 1% said it was the language they used at home. In Northern Ireland, about 8% of the population over 3 reported having some knowledge of Ulster Scots. However, just 65 people said it was their main language. Currently, especially in Scotland, there is an extensive revitalisation program going on, with the language featuring more prominently in many areas in recent years. So, now that we know what Scots is, what is Wikipedia? Well, you're probably sitting there being like, bruh, I already know what Wikipedia is, and that very fact proves my next point. Wikipedia is the world's biggest encyclopedia, and millions of people go turn there whenever they want to know about random stuff every single day. The key to its success is that anybody can edit it, and although some people roast it for being full of random rubbish because of this, it's actually pretty accurate for lots of different things. Fun fact, Wikipedia rabbit holes were actually one of the things that made me get into linguistics. In terms of linguistics, it's not just the knowledge conveyed that makes Wikipedia cool. It's massive, broad, digitized obviously, reviewed by a community, usually high quality, has versions in hundreds of languages and is freely available to everybody. You know what that means? It's the perfect recipe for a corpus of training data for natural language processing, which is modeling languages using computers. Computational linguists can and do take advantage of this high quality resource. I even found a whole paper about how good it is for NLP, link to that in the description. However, sometimes the quality is not as high as it seems. Anyway, back on track. So, what actually happened in the case of Scots Wikipedia? Well, Scots is not the biggest compared to many world languages, and due to various circumstances, just about everyone who speaks Scots can also speak or at least understand English. English Wikipedia is the biggest Wikipedia of all the languages, so therefore a smaller wiki like Scots would find it quite hard to compete. This, in turn, makes the Scots Wikipedia community even smaller than it otherwise could be. Well, when small communities receive a new enthusiastic member, they are hard to turn down. Over several years, the user contributed over 100,000 edits, creating tens of thousands of articles, gaining respect across the wiki community as its single most prolific user. There was only one problem. Said user was actually a random teenager from the other side of the world, keenly interested in Scots language and culture and acting in good faith, but didn't actually know the language at all. Using online dictionaries, they made countless edits in a style far away from standard written Scots, as it can be seen in its quite long literary tradition. So, what sort of problems did this cause? Well, Scots Wikipedia had a pretty bad reputation amongst the Scots-speaking community. Some on the internet even claim that it has sometimes been used as evidence that Scots isn't real or shouldn't be taken seriously. Scots Wikipedia was not reliable. Much of its content was hard to understand or straight up nonsensical, and it wasn't serving its purpose as a free and open knowledge base for everyone in the Scots-speaking community. Not to mention, now a bunch of computational linguists had models trained on dodgy data. So, what happened to Scots Wikipedia in the end? In a large-scale operation, countless hours of tireless editing improved the quality of many thousands of articles. But the real result after this blowing up all over the internet was that it raised awareness, not only about Scots itself, but about what can go wrong when there aren't enough checks and balances in an open source project. Contributors in small Wikipedias and also in all sorts of other projects are now on the lookout for this, and hey, maybe you now know a bit more about Scots itself. Oh, you're still here? Oh yeah, you're probably wondering why someone like me, literally also another random teenager even further away on yet another side of the world, is making a video about this. Well, my first ever video mentioned the Scots Wikipedia and it took me ages, like over a year to get around to finishing that video, and this whole debacle unfolded in between me recording the script and doing the animations. Shout out to Addison DJ, this was the first comment I ever got on this channel, my first ever viewer request finally fulfilled. Anyway, this time the video is done for real. See you next time.